I was said to, the other day I said to Bill Clinton,
Yeah.
I said to him, Bill, if you became president of this country, how are you going to run it? And he said, well, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. So now here's my question to you. If Julius Malema becomes president, would you know what to do? Would you,
The presidency is an institution and not an individual. And
Good
therefore, what you do, you get the best men and women for the job, who are committed to the country, who do not love their political parties more than they love the country.
Okay. So you're not
because remember, when we join political parties, we do so out of love for the country. You say, I love this country, therefore I'm going to fight for it through this political formation. So it's not about an individual. Your party policies, the type of people you get to come and do the job. Look at President Mbeki with all his witnesses. He's one of the best presidents we have ever produced. And the legal brains behind him was Advocate Mujangu, who was not ANC. She was Azapo, but she loved South Africa, and she was able to prioritize South Africa more than political affiliation.
If they come into power, they're not going to do the cadre deployment thing. Floyd is not going to get the top job.
The cadre deployment should not mean EFF members deployment. You can be a cadre as long as you've got the necessary qualification, as long as you are an agent for change, and you have demonstrated that. Your party political membership shouldn't matter, but what should matter is, are you the best man or woman for the job?
Now here's my one. Can I ask you a favor?
Yeah, sure.
Please. Now no one knew you're going to get that many votes. I didn't. I must say, we were all like surprised. What the hell just happened? So everyone was surprised, and obviously you're growing as a party. So one favor, Julius, and please, when you become president and you chase us poor white people into the sea, can we do it at the south coast? The water is warmer.
There is no white person who's going to the sea. South Africa will be a boring country without white people, because we are Nelson Mandela's children, and we learn from Nelson Mandela's teachings that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, black and white, as captured by the Freedom Charter. So we are now dating each other, we're now dancing together, we're doing business together, we are worshipping together. And imagine if I was to take her and push her out of the country through the sea, and she's dating my brother. She's not going to fight with me. My brother, a black brother, is going to fight with me that you are driving my girlfriend to the sea. And are you going to be my girlfriend? It's not possible. Therefore, blacks will fight for white people in the same way. White people should fight for black people and fight for their empowerment, fight for their economic liberation.
Who is this guy now? This is not the Julius Malema we learned about, when I was using in all the stand-up shows that I did, and we quoted you about what you said about white people. No, what now? Did you tone down now? Who is this guy now? What did you do with Julius Malema?
You listen selectively, and you listen to sound bites. You don't listen to your speeches.
I love some of your speeches. It's funny to me.
So you ought to give yourself time, and that's why I got the votes that shocked you, because those people took time to listen to the message. Remember, we didn't have money, we didn't have posters, we didn't have adverts in Jacaranda FM, nothing.
They had you.
Because we didn't have resources, but we had the message. And that message was well received by our people. The point I'm making is, all of us, and white people, having been exposed to opportunities before us, and also having certain qualifications that our people do not have, it must be their responsibility to say, it is now my turn to plow back to my country by empowering black people who have been marginalized for quite some time. And I've always put an emphasis that our fight is to share the resources of this country.
We understand the problem, and please do not get me wrong. I understand the problems of South Africa and the practical problems. What we cannot be doing is polarizing people. And you yourself said things like white people are criminals. Didn't you say that?
No.
Did you say that?
The owners of the land stole the land from us, and if you stole...
I didn't steal anyone's land.
Do you have the land?
No, I've got nothing.
So, why are you worried?
So you're going to get me a farm as well?
Stop being worried about other people's problems. Worry about your problems. White people majority of them who inherited big hectares of land, they were never paid for. Actually, a black genocide was committed, and those who survived the genocide were converted into the land slaves from landowners. So we're saying, given the history of land dispossession, let us all acknowledge that something went wrong.
We all acknowledge it.
And no, the owners don't acknowledge it. That's why they say to you, a willing buyer, willing seller.
No, they're saying to you, you can't just take my farm. Give me something in exchange.
No, we
That's
can't.
What they're saying Why can't
you give people death in exchange for
what?
the land. Yes.
Who,
they
me?
killed people, not you. I mean, you are speaking on their behalf. I'm
Not
addressing
my
them
family.
through you. I'm saying you killed people. We cannot reward killing. We cannot reward killing. Let there be remorse. Let there be a willingness to redistribute the land.
Okay, now
without any expectation
we understand
of financial benefits.
Let me
Those
tell you,
people
Julius,
use the land and benefited a lot from it.
We understand the problem, but what I'm saying to you is, you're looking at a huge farm operation like ZZ2. You know the guys and the tomatoes that they produce. There's no one that can run that farm currently, that operation like ZZ2. So if we give land nilly-willy to people, we're going to starve. That's the bottom line.
That's not true.
Yes, we will.
No. There are a lot of people who can run that farm.
Enough black people to run all the
You have
farms.
not conducted any study like that, and we don't want to take the ZZ2 from a white family. Where there is an operation, let them keep it. But hectares and hectares of land which are not being utilized, let them be released.
Which belongs to the government.
Communities. No.
Which belongs to the government as well. The government is huge.
I come from Limpopo. I know ZZ2. I know what I'm talking about. And ZZ2 has actually tried to start releasing some of the land to the workers. So we need that. We need that type. But it is wrong to say there are people who cannot farm. People who are producing wine in Cape Town themselves, particularly Afrikaner people, they too didn't know how to produce wine. They were taught by the Frenchmen how to produce wine. So imagine if somebody said, we can't give these Afrikaners land to produce wine. They know nothing about the wine. Somebody took time to teach them.
So bottom line, it's a process. You can't just give land randomly to people because they're black. It's a process. We need to involve people.
It can't be a permanent process.
Well,
20 years is too much.
It can't be a permanent process, but it's a process.
20 years is too much.
But it's a process.
We need a radical intervention now.
Which is what?
Willing buyer, willing seller didn't work. Because even if you're willing to buy, if there is no willing seller, where are you going to buy?
Now, here's my question to you. Nationalization is your big thing. And Al Jazeera interviewed you about, everyone asks you about nationalization. Now we know what's happening to our state enterprises. It's falling apart. Which one is not falling apart? SABC, Telkom, Denel, SAA. Everything's falling apart. Sanrail.
Do you know a company called AXA?
Yes, I do.
Is it falling apart?
Well, AXA is doing all right, but what about those that I just mentioned?
Do you know the company called the Transnet?
Yeah.
Is it falling apart?
Do you know the company called the SABC?
It's falling apart. To run locomotives business is one of the most complex business. We're doing it very well. To build an airport, it's not like building RDP houses. We're doing that very well. So you have given me examples. Let me respond to you. The examples that are not working. SABC and all those type of things. The mandate of the SABC is that people must see television. You've never gone to bed without seeing a television.
Good television, not repeats of Jean-Claude Van Damme movies.
Now you're taking it somewhere, but the point is, you have never gone to bed without seeing television. ESCOM, with all its weaknesses, they're trying their level best to give us electricity. You came here today, you are interviewing me, looking so fresh, you bathed and all that, you got water from government. So it's not all bad, but let me come back to you. How many private business owned companies get liquidated every day by the High Court?
You're right.
It's not automatic that when it is in the private hands, therefore it will flourish.
I agree.
Who got us into the world economic meltdown? It was privately owned banks in the United States of America. And then who bailed them? It was the state.
I understand what you're saying, but I want to get back to my original point. We do not have enough qualified people so that nationalization can work.
It's not true.
We do not have enough.
No, it's not true. You know South Africa...
The government will run it.
No, you know South Africa produces... Let's talk nationalization of mines, for instance. There's no mining company that came to South Africa with mining engineers. We produce them. We are one of the best countries, vets, and I don't know if it's UCT, one of the 2 universities that produce the best mining engineers in the whole world. It looks like it's 2 countries. We are one of the countries that most multinational companies that are running in South Africa, they are actually run by South Africans. And no one brought that skill here.
But you're saying to me, I don't have the facts proving that we do not have enough people able to run all these companies. But you're saying to me, you do. Did you do your research?
We did the research. Who? And that's why I'm able to tell you that...
Where's the research?
No, the vet institutions, higher institutions have conducted the research.
Where is it?
It's there, it's available.
And it's going to prove to me that you have capable people of running all of these companies if you nationalize.
You see, the problem is that we may not have sufficient blacks, but South Africans are there. White South Africans are there. The blacks are still lagging behind in terms of qualification. The Stats SA just released the results now and said the upward mobility of black youth is still lacking. Not only in terms of employment, but also in terms of qualifications. We've seen upward mobility of white young people who accumulate knowledge and qualifications and all that. Those are South Africans.
Stop talking about black and white people. Can we not start? You are talking about South Africans now. Let's talk about South Africa.
No, the white people have benefited, my man. You must never run away from that.
I'm not disagreeing.
And when we talk liberation, it's liberation of black people in general and Africans in particular. And those people must feel that somebody is fighting for them. I think you're calling for disaster. The day
you're calling for disaster, Julius.
Let me tell you, you'll have an unled revolution. Unled revolution is anarchy. Once this marginalized, once these people who are oppressed don't feel represented, they are going to come for me and you. Especially ourselves who stay in the suburbs. So somebody must make them feel accommodated. Somebody must be seen to be fighting for them so that they don't stand up on their own unled and then create anarchy. So the EFF closes that gap and says to them, don't be that angry, we're attending to your issues.
I do not say do not mention black people, but not at the expense of white people. You know, in other words, if I listen to your speeches, and I have been, you get that idea that we are the enemy. The whites are the enemy.
No, you like putting yourself there because you are too sensitive and necessary. I spoke about land, and they said, you want to take my land? I ask you a simple question.
I'm talking on behalf of people are talking through me.
I ask you individually, do you have a land? You say no. So why do you worry about it? Our emphasis and the enemy described by the EFF is white monopoly capital. The monopoly capital is white males who refuse the inclusion of any other person who's not in their team. It's white, black boys. Most of them are found in Stellenbosch. They exclude even white women. White women do not own land. White women do not play a major role in the mainstream economy in South Africa. And when you're fighting for economic freedom, you're also fighting for a white woman who is excluded. So when we say white monopoly capital, you are not a monopoly. You don't even have a sponsor shop.
But talk
you
about
also sell your labor.
Julius, talk about the capitalists. Use that term always. Don't just go randomly and talk about white people.
You have to
talk about capitalists.
You have to simplify the message for the layman to understand. You may understand that the characterization refers to a capitalist, but a layman may not understand. You ought to relate the message in a simplified manner.
Now here's the irony.
For people to understand.
Here's the irony to me. If they did not expel you out of the ANC, you would still be in the ANC.
Absolutely.
Right? And we're wearing the Breitling watches and the Louis Vuitton.
Well, I am wearing the Louis Vuitton now.
I need to join the EFF.
It's not about what you wear. That is naive. That is petty. It's about your heart and your political willingness. I don't care how much you are worth. do you really have the political will to make South Africa work better?
Yes.
And if you have that, what you drive, where you stay,
that's
is immaterial for me.
You would have still been in the ANC.
I would have been in the ANC.
And things would have gone on the same way.
Even when I was wearing Bradley, I spoke nationalization. I didn't speak in Bradley because my political consciousness wouldn't have been, wouldn't have allowed me to use material to influence my political judgment. Peter Mukaba used to tell us that whether you go to parties, whether you accumulate a material, you must never be swallowed by parties. You must actually swallow these things into,
but you would have
the revolution.
You would not have been in the opposition.
Absolutely.
We wouldn't have heard you in Parliament.
The reason why, you know, I was nominated to go to Parliament when I was still in the ANC. I refused. Because for me it was not about position, it's also about leading the struggle.
Listen,
and I would have been in the ANC because these issues I'm raising, I'm not raising them because I'm in the opposition. I raise them in the ANC.
Okay, listen, hold on a second. I love talking to you. Are you having fun? Julius Malema with us this morning, and telling me just now again, he's not a racist. Love white people, kiss the boer is really what you want to do.
Absolutely.
Not shoot them.
No, we shouldn't do that. We have gone beyond that. We must build a country for everyone.
So you are a different guy. I mean, you've grown up, in other words. You know, you were like a crazy back in the day. That's what you were saying. You know, now you're like, well, you know, let's all get together and sing Kumbaya. You know,
No. You know, we have made this articulation even in the past, but we do not control the media. Our enemies control the media, and they decide what to tell the people from your side. So we don't control radio, we don't control newspapers and television and the magazines. And we know the monopoly of such things in South Africa. So they always distort your message. But when you sit down with people, repeat the same things you said in the stadium, people begin to appreciate.
Now I'm looking at some of the comments coming through, and someone said, well, Mr. Malema, nice, you see how nice and formal we Afrikaners are.
Yeah.
What role are you playing in stopping farm murders on white people?
Crime is a big problem in South Africa, not only for farmers and white people. We must fight crime, and violent crime must be highly punishable. We ought to put the best, especially when a person who committed a violent crime is going before the court. We have to put the best teams to go and battle it out in court and ensure that such people go to jail for a very long time. Because the reason why people continue to commit crime, it is because there's not been serious punishment. Some of them who must just lock them forever and throw away the key, especially those who abuse children and women, and who rape grannies. It has gone, I mean, it has gone beyond farmers and white people. People go and rape grannies in the rural areas. It's a big problem which must be punishable.
And corrective rape. You see that as well? Corrective rape. People rape a lesbian woman?
No, well, any rape is unacceptable. People must do those type of engagements out of their own personal willingness. No one should impose himself or herself on the other person.
Now, Julius, here's the thing. Now, I listen to what you're saying, and I'm so glad you came on the show so I can ask you these questions and listen to your responses.
Yeah, sure.
But now, to the guy on the street, and people do not read newspapers, they don't read books, you know this. So whatever someone tells me at the water cooler, I'm going to believe. And there's a perception about you, and we were talking about perceptions. The first perception about you is that you are racist, and you want to chase white people into the sea. And we've now crossed that, and you said you're not going to chase white people into the sea. If you do, it's going to be from Margate's Beach. Okay, that's the first one. The second one is Julius Malema enriched himself. You know, so now he's talking about corrupt politicians. He's corrupt himself. You know, your case is coming up on the 30th of September, isn't it?
Let my case go through. I'm not scared. I've always said bring it on. The first thing people need to appreciate about Julius Malema is that he respects the rule of law. He has permanently subjected himself to the rule of law. He appears before the courts when he's accused, and therefore he doesn't think that he's above the law, unlike others.
Why don't you pay?
So I go before the court. You are talking about the corrupt case. It's coming.
Yeah.
You know, that case is very interesting because when we arrested, we were 10. And then 4 or 5 of the fellow accused have since been released.
Yeah.
Because they were said they bribed me with 1 million in exchange for tenders. And then their case was separated from mine. They got trialed separately. They couldn't even take a stand. The way the state failed to present a watertight case.
Okay.
And they were discharged.
So are you saying to me that, because you said about the tax situation, the tax that you owe, you said, well, Zuma's behind this. Are you saying Zuma's behind this as well, this corruption?
You know, Zuma called Ace Magashule to Ngandla to discuss me. And my criminal case was discussed by security cluster ministers during that strike in Marikana when I was intervening there.
Yeah.
They called the Hawks and said, you need to act on this. Advocate Jiba, who was acting NDPP at the time, got political instruction. A politically concocted charges will never stand the test of time in a court of law.
So what you're saying to me,
I'm not worried about
you are saying to me you are innocent of all these charges against you when it comes to corruption, but you do owe the tax.
No, the tax, I've canvassed that point with SARS.
Yeah.
We've reached a settlement, and I don't want to be going back to my justification.
Yeah.
There's a point where, as a man, even if you don't agree, you just say, look, let's put this behind us.
I was just wondering how much money you earned if you owed like 18 million in tax.
No, it was 4 million primary debt, and they put 50% penalty plus 200% interest. And when you come forward and say, let's settle, SARS does that all the time. But in my case, they were refusing. You see, SARS settles, and it even settled with people with big monies like Dave King. So who's Julius Malema not to be not to settle with?
But point is, Zuma's behind all of this, you're saying?
I know how they operate. I've worked with them. They can't tolerate dissent. They can't tolerate opposition. Remember, all this were never done to me when I was in the ANC. Why did I all of a sudden become corrupt and owe SARS after being expelled from the ANC? They expelled me, and then what followed was the charges by the NPA and then SARS bill. I've operated with that. I've seen what Thabo Mbeki's regime did to Jacob Zuma. I was there. That's how the ANC operate. That's why they say it's cold outside the ANC. What they mean is that anyone who challenges them, they deal with that person to a point that anyone who wants to challenge them gets so scared and never tries to challenge.
Isn't it a good feeling? It must be a good feeling, because you were hurt by them when they threw you out of the ANC. And now you came back with this party. It must be a good feeling if you sit there.
I feel very good. It was a blessing in disguise. That thing, it was a good decision. I want to thank Zuma for that. For expelling me from the ANC. I'm a free bird now. And you know, in the ANC, every time you say something critical about leadership, about the state of affairs, the status quo, you know, Monday, you're going to be subjected to all sorts of attack from the leadership. Now we're doing our own thing. We have no principals supervising us. Our principals are the masses, the voters themselves.
You're doing your own thing, but you guys still do not know how to wear a beret. Can you put your headphones on? I got a sergeant major to explain to you.
I can't wait like a sergeant major.
Now listen, comrade in chief. Listen to this now. This is how you wear a beret. I'm going to give it to you so you can send it to your members. All right? Okay. This is how you wear a beret. Listen closely.
Chief Marine from Group Armor Teamping, and I just want to tell you how to wear a beret correctly. When you issue with a new beret, you prepare the beret. Inside the ribbing is a string. You make a knot. When you cut the excessive lace off, when you put on the badge will be 6 millimeters above the ribbing. And then when you wear your beret, to make sure that side on your right hand as far as your head, and it must not be over the ear. The ribbing must be level. You can't wear the beret to the side, the skew on the side, on the right hand side, or either on the left hand side. And your beret.
You got that?
Yeah.
Please explain it to your members. Julius Malema is by ons vanoggend. You know what, just on a personal note, my mother's like that. Whenever, you know, there's something in the newspapers or something, she does a little clipping, she keeps it in an album. I was wondering, your granny then, says Sheikh, does she keep like albums of you, newspaper clippings?
She can't, because she can't read and write. She listens on the radio and start panicking a lot, even on things that are so simple, can be better explained. You know how sensitive old people can be.
That's the thing.
But I think that she has developed a crocodile skin. She's now in a position to fight back. She can identify the enemy. She's able to separate truth from lies. And she does that because all of us believed in the ANC for a very long time. But as we expose the truth, they begin to appreciate that actually these young people are not wrong.
Now here's the thing, you know, and I'm thinking back. This morning I was in the shower, and this is where I do my thinking.
Yeah, sure.
And I was thinking, I suddenly had this image.
You think in a shower?
Yeah, that's what I do. And what do you do in the shower?
You must not make a mistake of taking a shower after unprotected sex. With the hope that you'll do away with
Yeah, that's stabbing, you see. Yeah, but and then he says to Claudine, what's her name? You know, Zuma's gonna throw you away like a condom. And Zuma's going, what is he talking about?
I don't know those things he's talking about.
What is that condom? 8:49. Julius Malema vanoggend. Listen, I'm gonna ask you this quickly. And as I was saying, I was standing there and I was thinking back. And we were all very sad when Madiba passed on.
Yeah, sure.
And I remember I was thinking about when they made all those documentaries, and I remember watching the one was just before Chris Hani's death. It was a couple of months before that, and there was political violence in KwaZulu-Natal. And he said to take your knives and your pangas and your guns and throw them into the sea. And he also said that, you know, if people respond to me like this, if you don't like what I'm saying, then vote me out. I shouldn't be your leader. Yeah. Remember when he said that? And then after Hani, he went on TV and he appealed for calm. We all know this. This is history. But it looks as if you have immense power. You have, ne? Yes?
I don't know. It has not been tested.
You have? Yes, it has been tested. You have power. Now, what I'm worried about is what I'm not hearing from you is where you do the Madiba thing and you go, you're not going to like what I'm going to say to you guys. But listen, don't burn down your campus if you don't like.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
I want to hear more of that from you.
I do that more often. You know, after the elections on the 7th of May, there was violence in Alexander where people were disputing the results. And I was in Polokwane, and I had to come and go to the IEC center and call an agent press conference and accept the results. And said, with all the discrepancies, these are the results of South African voters, and it's a true reflection of what our people said. And therefore, all of us, including Alexander, we must accept the results. And then that's when that violence stopped in Alexander. Zuma, what does he do? Instead of communicating with his people, he sent soldiers in Alexander. And I knew I had to intervene in a manner I did because he was aiming at killing people in Alexander. Why was he ready to kill people in Alexander? It's because the ANC did not win the elections in Gauteng. When they got 50%, counting stopped. They were at the 50%, counting stopped. We had to fight for the counting to continue. For sure, they were busy with their manipulations. Boom, it became 53%. The ANC knows very well. But because we love this country, we had to accept. We love this country. We'll never put this country in a compromised position where it is going to be bent down.
I agree. And I want to step off from this quickly. And I want to ask you, and you know, to me, it's all about respect. Yeah. You know, we just need to start respecting people. You know, and start judging them when they open their mouths. Then you can start judging them, but not before. And I want to, and obviously I'm talking from an Afrikaner point of view. Obviously, we are ashamed about a lot of things that happen, but we're also very proud about a lot of things. And we're very proud, for instance, about the Anglo-Boer War. When those people, ragtag army, and they went off and they fought the imperialist British bastards. They fought them. So you need. I was wondering if you go and I quite respect those guys. You know, do you respect, for instance, guys like that? Are there Afrikaners that you respect, except myself, of course?
I've got a lot of Afrikaners who I work with very closely, including in my security team. They take care of what I do. I can trust them with my life. Just from a personal point of view, you can't have a person you don't trust as part of your security people. My lawyers were Afrikaners, and I couldn't get enough money to pay them because I was expelled from work. How do you trust an Afrikaner with representing you in court if you do not trust Afrikaners? So I'm demonstrating personal engagement, including risky decisions that I took, which involved Afrikaner people taking charge of my life. So I don't hate Afrikaners. So it's not about Afrikaners. I deal with issues on the basis of how you present them before me. Cyril Ramaphosa is not an Afrikaner, but he behaves like an oppressor.
But I want to get away from knocking the ANC now for a second, and I want to get back to this morning. We started off, and I said I want to ask you one question when you come in here. Are you sorry about a few things that you said before? And one thing I'm sure you're very sorry about is we will kill for Zuma. You're very sorry about it.
I apologize about that.
and you apologize when you're not happy with that, and you shouldn't have said that. The shoot the boer thing. Are you sorry you said that?
Which one?
When you said shoot the boer, when you sang that.
You know that song? Yeah, that song was a song started by struggle heroes.
I know the history.
Long before Julius Malema.
I know the history.
And we had to preserve those things. We must never forget those things.
But when you offend people, you stop singing.
But who am I offending? Because,
you remember people were offended by it?
No, it was those
offended by it.
Tau and
you were found guilty of hate speech, Juju.
AfriForum.
You were found guilty of hate speech.
But I won the right to appeal the decision, where a judge had to confess that on this one I might have erred.
But now
and what happened? After that, we had a discussion with AfriForum and said, instead of such songs being banned by the courts, we'll rather agree that they must be sang at appropriate forums.
Would you kiss this boer right next to you?
I will not have a problem with that.
Moms, can also foto krijgen. Please kiss this boer. I want a photo, please. Julius, kiss the boer. Yeah! He finally kissed the boer. That's what I got a gift for you. I wish I had more time with you. Did you like this? I had a great time talking to you.
Yeah, sure. It's very interesting to speak to different people who are not ordinarily your constituency, who at times misinterpret what you're saying, and if they give you an opportunity to come and explain yourself, you must appreciate.
Listen, now yesterday I was at the mall and I wanted to buy you a little gift.
Yeah, sure.
And I bought a book, and someone said, "Don't buy this book. Buy him The Real Meal Revolution."
Oh yeah, sure.
So I didn't have enough money for that, because I'm not you. I bought you this big book. It's called Stuff South African White People Like.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Yes. And it's you can read about things like sushi and rock music and rugby, loftus,
vitamins, supplements.
You can read about Nathaniel in here. You know Nathaniel?
No.
Okay, you'll read about him in here. 80s nights, carte blanche, everything is here. Helen Ziller, everything's there.
Oh, okay. Is Oscar Pistorius there?
Julius Malema by ons volgende geweest van Oscar. Julius, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.